In fact, let me share my experience. In my group, I have got two small foundries, each producing about 100 tons. And today the situation that we don't use a single kg fresh sand, we don't dispose a single kg waste sand.
My compliments to you, Mr. Kakanis. It's a really innovative story of what you told. And that's the way one has to respect our natural resources. My next question is to Mr. Patrikar on the same topic, because he deals into the mineral mining, that's the bentonite. So do you face any such impact on your availability of raw material, that's the bentonite? Bentonite mining I'm talking about. Is there any such ban? Is there any, do you foresee any such restriction on mining of bentonite from environmental point of view?
No, as far as bentonite is concerned, this bentonite is from Wyoming place in USA, and if you see there, those peoples in US now started using mix of calcium and sodium bentonite. Earlier they were using 100% bentonite from the mines, US mines, but now they are sourcing from India, all other sources where they have a calcium bentonite. They are mixing it together to just reduce the extraction of the reserves and preservation. So, but there is no such kind of bans or these things are over there in US or for mining of bentonite.
Thank you for that. But even then, a natural resource is getting depleted.
Yes.
And your company being a pioneer or a leader in bentonite or binder, green sand binder system, what's on the horizon to replace such binder or to regenerate that binder? Is there some thought of how to regenerate dead clay or something of that sort?
I think regeneration of the these consumables, it may not be possible in case of the castings, because any binder you take, maybe coal or bentonite, it loses its property at 650 degree maximum, because the temperature of the metal is 1420. So I don't think regeneration is possible, but the philosophy we work is less is best. You can optimize the usage of these binders or consumables, and then you can save it in addition. That's the only possibility.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, Mr. Karkhanis told about thermal reclamation and other ways of reclaiming green sand and resin coated sand also. So my question to the equipment panel, Mr. Kamdar and Mr. Krishnan, what's the next line in the reclamation? Because thermal reclamation is in use in Kolhapur area for last a decade or so. The green to green reclamation is coming up very fast. So can you throw some light on the new technology and impact of the new technology on thermal reclamation?
This topic of sand reclamation has got to be applied in two areas. One is the green sand molding, that is the bentonite bonded sand, and the other one is chemically bonded sand. So these two have to be reclaimed in a different style. One question you asked, whether you can reduce the bentonite consumption. There is possibility that when you have the sand preparation, you have to extract the floating fines at all points, and these collected into the dust collector is to be fed back, because that has got a good amount of active bentonite which has to be fed back into the mixer. So your bentonite addition in the mixer will come down. That is one issue. The other thing is all the burnt bentonite or burnt coal dust, which has to be reclaimed in a different manner. And as far as the chemically bonded sand is concerned, because it's a chemical reaction, a used sand cannot be reused unless it is reclaimed. Whereas in green sand, it is always reprocessed. In the case of no-bake molding, there is a mechanical reclamation which to around 95% of the sand, mechanically reclaimed, can be reused for chemical bonded mold, especially furan. But if it is some other resin like alpha sand, then the reclaimability is lower. Still, there will be 5 to 10% of sand to be thrown out in a chemically bonded foundry, whereas in the green sand it could be maybe 5%. The next step is how to avoid throwing out this 5% sand or avoid buying new sand. Then the issue comes is to have a thermal reclamation, and thermal reclamation for chemically bonded sand is done immediately after mechanical reclamation. Major portion will for molding, and one portion is thermally reclaimed, where we heat it up to 700, 750 degrees centigrade, burn out all the resin, and the leftover will be absolutely very good sand. It will be much better than the new sand which you are procuring, because the LOI can come down to 0.05, 04%. So that is in the thermal reclamation for the chemically bonded sand. Now, if the issue is today, not only these two, in the green sand foundries, you have the return sand has got a green sand and quite a good amount of core sand. Like Gumaste's foundry, they will be using almost the poured metal. If it is 100 kg, they will have core sand of anything like 80 to 100 kg. So that's a very substantial amount. And if you process that sand, one is the sand processing itself is affected. So you have to definitely try to remove as much as of the chemically bonded sand. So in that case, we have to process in 3 stages. One is, first stage, it is mechanically scrubbed by pneumatic scrubbing and removing a major portion of the fines, a small portion of the bentonite, active bentonite. That sand after reclamation can be reused for the molding, because it has still leftover active bentonite of around 5%. So it can be used as a molding sand. The next portion is taken to thermal reclamation, where thermally it is burnt. So you remove all the chemicals from the sand system. And still it is not completely ready for reuse in a core shop. So we have to take it into another pneumatic scrubbing, where the residual bentonite is also removed. And the sand after the second scrubbing, it is absolutely useful for the core making.
Thank you for that. Now my question to Mr. Ejrekar. Mr. Ejrekar has helped IF Western region in a long way by delivering lectures on coatings. So the question goes on coatings. Since Gargi has existence in coatings for a long time, we are looking for something greener and what you can say, a new generation coating which has compliance to all the emission norms, which doesn't have any CLP regulatory adverse effects. And so what's there on the horizon on the greener side of coating?
Basically, 2 types of coatings are used in foundries for chemically bonded sands, molding and core making, spirit base and water base. So largely, if you see, water based paints should be more and more promoted, because they are less VOC generating paints, and solvent based paints are used where oven facilities are not there or drying facilities are not there. Basically water or solvent, they are just used as carrier to deposit the solid contents of the paints. Going green has become very much relevant today, and if you see solvent based paints, they are very much prone to generate lot of hazardous air pollutants, VOCs, and in turn it has become a necessity to change over to water based paints as much as possible. That will water based paints at the same time are less expensive compared to solvent based paints, and more very easily applicable to various new technology of application methods. Now many foundries are going into robotic operations, hydraulic dip tanks. So at these places, water based paints are more useful at this stage.
Thank you for that. My question to Mr. Matthews on resin. The question remains same. We know Foseco as a solution partner, and virtually in a large part of Indian foundry industry, Foseco is considered to be the last word in any new technology from chemicals or fluxes or binders or coating side. So taking a clue from that, what greener binders are you promoting nowadays, and what's the advantage of your technology niche in making it greener?
Okay. Okay, greener, the world greener looks beautiful, but ultimately it is industry. Industry has to survive. So we follow the Eric PDA cycle, where in which elimination is not possible, isolation or reduce. That is the philosophy we follow. Wherever it is possible to eliminate, we eliminate the unwanted chemicals. Again, we know Indian foundry, Indian industry mindset. That is, under legislations are put into place and put is enforced. We don't follow it normally. So technology development is one aspect of it, whether we can practically sell it in the market or whether it is adoptable in the field, that is a secondary part of it. As far as technologies are concerned, which is enforced in Europe, so technologies are available, which are mostly, it is not being used in India. So as far as technology is concerned, don't see a constraint, but every technology comes with an additional cost. So Indian foundry at this stage of time, under this cost pressure, may not be enough mood to change over to spend more only for environment. So we normally in India, we follow that, how to mitigate the risk to reduce the levels. With this aspect, we had introduced the alkaline phenolic binders to reduce the BTX emissions associated with other solvent-based systems. And we encourage foundry to move towards more water-based coatings. And we encourage foundries to move towards granulated fluxes rather than powder fluxes to reduce the environmental impact. Then to improve energy efficiency, we had introduced corrugated crucibles to improve the aluminum foundry performance. These aspects, as an foundry industry matures and how the demand comes, we introduced to Indian market. And recently we had inaugurated a global R&D center at Netherlands who is working on greener, innovative technologies for foundry industry, which in the coming years we are expected to roll out new technologies which will be more greener in nature. Thank you.
Thank you for that. But Manish, my question to you now, because coatings are to do with the aesthetic part of the casting.
Yes.
And initially in the opening session, Mr. Gumaste also commented something on the aesthetic part of the casting.
Yes.
Majority of our foundries are still operating on jolt squeeze machines
Yes.
with green sand, and a few are converting themselves into high pressure lines. So the binder and the binding system and the sand mix, all that has a great impact on the surface finish of the casting. So from the concept of your premix and your experience in the binder technology, can you throw some light on how can you improve the surface finish with the existing equipment, which will ultimately reduce the coating consumption?
If we are talking about green sand, specifically.
Specifically green sand.
If you are talking about the green sand, surface finish requirement is become more and more stringent from the OEMs. Means earlier it was a 25 RA value. Now it has come down to 11 as a normal. Means 1 year back or 5 years back, people were asking if I am going to give surface finish to a customer, they may not be paying me 50 paisa more. But the fact is that today, if you don't give them a surface finish, you are only losing the business. So surface finish and aesthetics is very important. And as far as this green sand is concerned, the additives and the new sand, fresh sand quality plays an important role in the surface finish. As we said, like less is best philosophy, everybody should work. Lower the usage of the bentonite, lower the usage of the coal, will improve the flowability of the sand irrespective of the line which you are making, whether it is high pressure line, whether it is conventional line or whatever. So all the things in a lower like bentonite or coal, this will improve the refractoriness of the sand, because only sand is a refractory. All consumables are gone at 850 or 650. So if you use the less quantity of coal, bentonite, you will have a less dead clay generation. The less dead clay generation and less parameters will help you to reduce the moisture contents, which is a major concern nowadays, and this will impact for a better surface finish of the casting. So I will again say less is a best concept should apply in a green sand to achieve better surface finish of these things. And as you say about premix, premix is a technology which is coming to India, which is more popular in Europe and US. They use a natural sodium bentonite plus coal blend, which is right now coming to India. It is difficult to use because in India most of the foundries are jobbing foundries. They change the product mix hourly or maybe sometimes daily basis. So to use it is a difficult task, but you have to use it because time to come it will, if you want to maintain the quality of the casting with a lesser rejection and with the improved surface finish, the less is best concept has to follow for every product.